Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host Bennett Shear. Today we have got another aired exception for you. As you know, we've been talking to the singers that you didn't see on American Idol, but we also have been talking to some contestants who did air on season 20. So please welcome Taylor Fagins.
Hello.
How are you?
I am great. How you doing?
I'm good. Oh man, I love your energy. I'm so pumped. I'm so ready. Um,
Yes.
And I'm excited to relive your American Idol experience, man. So, as I just said, we did get to see you on American Idol. But just to give everybody a refresher, if you could kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about you, and take it away.
Yeah, of course. I'm Taylor Fagins. Yeah, I grew up in California for I'm trying to think when I moved to New York. But I grew up in California for 24 years. That might be wrong. But in 2018, I moved to New York to pursue my dream of writing, whether that be songwriting, musical theater writing, TV writing, any kind of writing. And yeah, I've been living in New York since 2018. Yeah, and that's just been my thing. I went to undergrad for acting in California and changed my mind in the middle of that and decided to be a writer instead. And then yeah, once I came out to New York, I had been writing musical theater and doing my best. Um, and then in 2020, I kind of decided to share my songwriting with the world for the first time with a song called We Need More. And then eventually that led me to be on American Idol because that song apparently was really touching to a lot of people. So, yeah, that's kind of me and how I got where I am.
I want to start off with what you just said about everything that you've done before we even got to music, because that was one of the first things I noticed in your audition package. Was I was like, oh my gosh, he does so many creative things. I myself am a TV writer. That's probably my main ambition in life is to become a TV writer. So I'm sure that we could connect on that. And I am
Yes.
so fascinated by, just the idea that you can be a writer for so many different things. I mean, is it sort of all the same to you, or do you get different things out of the different mediums?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, writing TV, like writing TV scripts or a screenplay or a musical theater script is very different than writing a song for like an album. For me, I've always used writing TV shows, writing plays, and writing musicals and films as a way to tell stories of people who, I don't normally see in that medium. Like, I usually don't see a story about a trans identifying superhero. So right now I'm working on a musical that's about a trans identifying superhero. I like if I wanted to write some mythical futuristic story about the world 10 years later, then I'm working on that as a TV series right now. Like, so that's usually like stuff where I really want to delve into like untold stories or like, you know, like fantastical sides of like the world we live in now versus when I write songs, that's more so what I call my journal. Because I don't like to journal because it hurts my hand and it's boring. But, and I'm very honest about that because I remember getting my first journal when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of work to tell something how I feel. And I wish there was an easier way to do that. And that's how music came to me in writing songs because I'm like, oh, I'll just sing how I feel. That's easy. I'll write down some lyrics, which takes way less time than writing like 8 pages of like what I think about this girl I like. I'll just write a song about it and then I'll sing it to myself and it'll be in my head forever. And that's kind of what music became versus all the other stuff is exploring other worlds. So,
Isn't it crazy how there's that separation between world building and, by the way, I have to say, I feel like all the interviews that I've watched of showrunners and all of my TV heroes, I feel like I'm listening to one of my heroes. It's just so cool to hear your brain work. But, you've probably heard the phrase world building a lot. So you think about the
yeah.
world building of these characters and these universes that you create. And it's almost easier to do that and to create something so complex with multiple people, so much harder to just open that journal and write about yourself and what you're going through. Even if it's so much simpler, that's the challenge.
Yeah, it totally is. There's something to it, to the human experience where it's easier to create a world in which some version of yourself or some version of a hero that you wish you could be can solve their problems
Mm.
and can figure things out on their own and have all the tools that they need than actually like being introspective and trying to figure your own life out.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot easier to write stories than it is to look at my own heart. But music is like the only way I end up doing that. So
Yeah, you work on other characters and you're like, man, I wish I could have taught myself that like 10 years ago.
yeah.
Because I can't really do anything about this situation because I'm in it in the now.
Yeah. Literally, literally. Oh
Oh
man.
man. But I mean, the thing is, as hard as it is, I mean, it does resonate when you're real, when you can open up your soul and you can talk about something that you're feeling in the present. I mean, that hits. That's why we need more hit, and that's why I'm sure that all of your songs really connect with people because they're you. And as hard as it was to make that song, it's rewarding because then people listen to it and they're like, "Thank you for opening up. Thank you for sharing who you are to us." And the listener doesn't always realize or understand how difficult that was to open up.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, and it's funny because that you say that because even for me, I didn't realize how much I had opened up until I had released that song for the first time, and shared it with the world. I remember telling my family, and I've told a couple other people this, but I shared the song on YouTube for the first time. Um, and it was just a video. The very first video was a video of me just playing it on the piano and singing in my at my friend's apartment. And I posted that video and then I watched it.
Hmm.
And then I just started crying because I was like, oh my gosh, like, no, this is how I feel. I really didn't understand like what I was creating, and how personal it was until I listened to the song over again. But yeah, it really is interesting how you could share such a specific piece of yourself and other people are like, that's me too. Like, I totally understand. Like, I agree with you. Like, thank you for sharing that because I didn't know how to say it. Yeah, it's kind of a beautiful little doorway for everyone to write songs.
Yeah, and I think too about we need more because as far as your idol journey and you getting to share that song on the show, I would love to talk about just your filming process, what it was like to be on the set, but just a thought that I had about the song in particular is that not only was it a song about you and your feelings, but you were representing so many people. I mean, it's right there in the title, we need more. So, I feel like the power in not just writing something for yourself, but for so many people who are feeling the exact same thing makes it a million times more rewarding and so much more emotional for you because you almost turn into the listener of your own song.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about it that way. um, no, 100%. I feel like, I mean, when I first wrote the song, the intention was to write it from the perspective of my little brother and sister, and the perspective of like my mom and my dad, and like how they would feel being like sitting here and seeing footage of people who look like them dying, and getting shot and getting killed. And so, yeah, I remembered all those feelings and being like, that's the perspective I have to write from. Um, yeah, and so I think the intention of the song was really to create something that it was very unintentional to create something that resonated with myself. But it was very intentional to create something that really spoke for the fear that the Black community was feeling in that moment. But also at the same time, the hope that we're trying to hold on to with how much we think we deserve, that we
Hmm.
deserve more than this. Like, we deserve to go outside and we deserve to not be afraid, of like everyday running errands and everyday occurrences and, just living our lives. Um, yeah, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about the timeline because it sounds like that was obviously written a while before you got on the show. So how did that all come to be?
Yeah. So Ahmaud Arbery had passed, had been killed, and then it was Breonna Taylor, and then George Floyd. And I
Mm.
remember after George Floyd had died, I was very, very depressed. And I think about, I don't remember the specific time, like if it was a week or a couple of days, but I remember it was a Wednesday. Um, and I remember on Wednesday, so I think it was about a week after he had died. On Wednesday, I remember laying in bed and that morning seeing people sharing art related to George Floyd's murder and related to Breonna Taylor's murder and related to Ahmaud Arbery's murder. And I was like, wow, if they can do it, then I feel like I should do something. I should say something. And so that timeline was very, very, in my opinion, very intentional. That like I had witnessed and been very sad for witnessing all these things. And then that morning being like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try. And then 30 minutes later, I had the song done. I kind of just like laid in bed and pressed record on my voice memo on my phone, and sang out loud. And then I was like, yeah, that's it. And then I played it on the piano and then, yeah. And then I made the video and then I posted it. And
Wow.
yeah, that's how it went.
Well,
That's the
I
timeline.
mean, I just think too about it all happened so fast, but I feel like as a world we were as a country we were consuming so much in such a short period of time that that whole week
Mm.
must have just felt like I mean, obviously a constant flow of updates and the news and people chiming in and going on social
Yeah.
media and then getting overwhelmed by social media that at a certain point I almost wonder if it just felt like a long time coming, even though it was what, 7, 8 days. You had so much to process in such a short amount of time that felt maybe like a longer amount of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the feelings were always sitting in my heart.
Hmm.
I think it just took something to push me to be like, you have to say something, Taylor. You can't just sit with it. And for me, as someone who like struggles with mental health, I struggle with depression on a daily basis. Yeah, I've always been an advocate of like you have to be honest about where you are, and you have to be verbal. That's the word I was looking for. You have to be verbal. You have to be vocal about where you are. When you struggle with mental health, it's easy to be quiet, and when you're quiet, you suffer alone.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, like you said, I think there was always something inside me because of, thank God, because of tools that I've received from people in my past who've been like, when you're feeling this way, when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling scared, you have to be honest and you have to open your mouth. Which is what writing music has always been for me. So in that, it was like, okay, no, I'm gonna do something now. I have no choice because if I don't do something now, I'm just gonna be sad for I don't know how long. But
mm.
yeah, that moment was just like a trigger of like, nope, this is the time. If you don't say something now, you're gonna be sad for a very long time. So let's try and like get through this.
Right. You had to listen to your personal instincts and your artistic instincts, and then it was able to benefit you and your audience because you help
Exactly.
yourself and then you offer somewhat of an escape perhaps for the listener.
Exactly. Exactly. You got it.
As far as the jump from June 2020 to I'm guessing fall 2021 as you prepare to audition for season 20 of American Idol, what were you doing in between then?
Yeah, I was writing, not music. But I was, after We Need More came out, I was kind of just writing other things. I did at one point submit for, this was very random and I totally forgot it had happened. Um, but I had submitted for a contest called the American Songwriter Contest.
Hmm.
And I actually like won a guitar and
Wow.
like a cash prize, and it was like an article interview. It was really cool. It was very funny because on this is totally random, but on American Idol, they asked me like, "Have you ever won anything?" And I was like, "I don't know." I was so stunned. That's like a totally different story, but I was so stunned by like seeing three celebrities in front of me that I was like, I don't know who I am right now. I don't know. Whatever you say is right, probably. But anyway, so I never shared that on TV, but like I had actually, yes, submitted that song and like actually won a contest, and that was like totally really cool. Um, yeah, and then I kept writing other things. I was working on plays, and I wrote two plays, one play called I'm Not a Racist and another play called A Song, and that play is actually based on this creation of We Need More,
Mm.
and how it kind of came to be. Um, yeah, and then I wrote, like I said, I wrote a different play called I'm Not a Racist, which is, it's an interesting play. I'm not gonna go into detail, but it's the first time I've written a play that's like horror based, which
Mm.
I think is really interesting. Like it's a suspenseful, not horror, I guess. It's a suspenseful play, which I think is really cool. But yeah, I worked a lot on that, and then I I also applied for grad school and
Wow.
I got into grad school. Yeah. So I ended up going to Berkeley College of Music, but they have a New York campus that just opened.
Hmm.
So I got to be a part of the first inaugural year of this school, which was really cool. And I majored in, and we just graduated because it was only a year long. Um, but I got to be a part of the writing and design for musical theater program, and that was really fun. Um, and I remember in September is when I got, was it September? Yeah, it was September, I think, is when I got the call from a producer that was like, "Hey, we really want you to be on American Idol because that song was really good." And I was like, "Oh, like for real?" I thought it was a prank call. I'm not even
Right.
gonna lie. But yeah, the producer called me, he explained, and he was like, "Yeah, I heard your song, and it was really, really cool, and like it was really touching, and it moved me, and I wanted to know if you would share that song with the judge or with the other producers and the judges." And I was like, "Sure." Um, so yeah, that was a really cool process. But that's what I did in between. It was a lot of writing and trying to figure out where my writing career was going.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, to have obviously such an impactful event like writing the song in 2020 and then everything else in between,
Mhm.
and then to go on American Idol, just sounds like it's been nonstop, very eventful, and you're just kind of along for the ride. I love your attitude. You're just kind of like, cool, let's do it, you know?
Literally, oh man, you should have heard that phone call. I remember him being like, he was the producer, he was like, "So, like, would you be down to like audition?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I've never done it before, so I don't see why I would say no." And he was like, "Okay," like he's like, it's like a TV show. And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." I didn't no idea what I was getting into. Yeah, I was very much along for the ride. It was very funny.
So the fact that you have written series before and plays and amongst everything else that you've written, you've been on sort of the opposite side to actually go and be on screen. Even though a lot of the stuff you've written has been fictional, did you go into American Idol thinking maybe, oh, I can learn something about TV production?
That is a great question. I don't think I did. I didn't go into it like that. I think inevitably I did learn something.
Mm,
I did learn something about TV direction, but to be honest, I went in thinking, not really thinking about the TV aspect at all, and basically being nervous of the fact that I was singing in front of a bunch of people for the first time.
mm-hmm.
And that's like not really like I've never sung on television before. And that was really what was making me nervous, and what was consuming my every thought. But when I was there, I like really got to know a lot of the staff and a lot of the producers. Um, and I understood like, oh, this is what it takes to make a TV show. Like this kind of organization and the way they gather people and the way they schedule everything and the long shoots and it was crazy to me. Because I'm like, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. to sit in a room and have them film me being nervous. Like that's a lot. Like there's no way I would ever want to do that. But yeah, I really understood like how much commitment it takes to like film a show like that. Yeah, and I got to get in the minds of some of the people and like some of the producers I got to like have long conversations with and be like, how'd you get into this industry? And what do you love about it? And what is the appeal of this?
Mm-hmm.
And what would it take? Like, what would be the difference between this, which is a reality TV show, and then something that's like fictional and something like, I don't know, like American Gods, that TV show, or like any of the TV shows that are more fictional and like more acting based and less reality. Like, what would your job be there? And so it was really cool to get that insight. But I definitely didn't go in that way at first. I kind of
Mm-hmm.
learned it along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot more to your audition than the couple of minutes that we see on the show. So let's go back to day zero. Remind me which city
Yeah,
that you went to.
I went to Los Angeles, and it was very funny because I was excited to go to Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't know that I could have asked them to go to a different city.
Mm.
Because I was in New York, and Los Angeles to New York, that's a long flight.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently I had a choice to go to like Nashville or something. And I was like, I would have gone to Nashville
Oh
down
man.
that's the right than this. It was very funny. But yeah, I went to Los Angeles.
Tell me about some of the friends you made, because I know that you met a lot of cool people.
Yes. Oh, so many friends. Okay. So Milo, I was friend. Oh, beautiful Milo. I love him.
Mm,
He has a heart of gold, and his voice is even better. I made friends with Milo. I made friends with Kendra Checkitts. She was a great, great human being. Kendra literally was the reason I think a lot of us survived the audition.
mm,
Because she kind of would like wrangle us together, wrangle people together, and be like, "Hey, you look like you're not doing anything. Do you want to go get food? Do you want to talk? Do you know what's going on?" Like usually she like knows a lot, I guess, about like how reality like singing shows work. And she'd been on The Voice before. So Kendra Checkitts was like my one of my main homies, like when I was there. She was great. But yeah, she helped me along the way for a lot of things. Um, yeah, and then I'm trying to think who else did I make friends with? Oh my gosh, Mike Parker.
mm.
He's beautiful, man. I made friends with him real quick. He met my family. Like he's great. But yeah, I made really close friends with him. He's really cool, really humble guy. Those are like the three main people. I met a lot of other people along the way. Like once the show got further in. But for the audition, I remember those are the three people I like introduced myself to like from the get go, like at
Hmm.
the beginning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, I think you said you went day three, right, during the week.
Yes.
So, at what point were they having you do B-roll interviews, all that stuff?
Pretty much every day, all the time. I remember, I'll say from like 6 a.m., I was in the background of pretty much everybody's shot. Um, I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah, I was pretty much in the background of every shot. A couple times they had me just like a part of like a conversation but not really not really talking during the middle of the day, and then at some point in the evening they would let me go eat and then go to my hotel room, and I was like chilling for hours. And then honestly they would forget I was up there, and I would like, but I was the kind of guy that's like, I feel left out, so I would go back to the filming area and be like, do you guys need me? And they were like, oh yes, where have you been? I'm like, you sent me to my room like 4 hours ago. They're like, oh yeah, can you be in the background of this shot? I'm like, oh okay. So that was like a lot of me just like sitting in the background and like taking naps or like on my phone. Um, but yeah, and then I think around day two is when I started filming like a lot of like the real stuff. So like a lot of the interviews. I did like my big interview on day two, and then I did trying to think. Oh, they didn't meet. They made me do the act nervous shots where I'm like walking back and forth, which they didn't use. And then they had me talk to one of the contestants who was going like she was two places before me. And they had me talk to her, and we got to know each other, even though we already did. But we got to know each other again for like the second time. Yeah, and then I think that was like pretty much it. They did have me do a lot of social media, or not a lot, but they had me do social media stuff real quick. Oh, and then they had me film with my family.
Yes.
They're like that big wall where like you go in, it's like a surprise. It was my family, which was really cool. Yeah, that was a really good time. And they like didn't use it because we don't know how to be on TV. But it was a really good time. Like we were talking to each other and having a blast, and they'd be like, okay, can we get you guys like screaming for Taylor? And they were like, 1 second. So Taylor, like, are you eating? And like, how's the hotel? Like they weren't following directions. It was very funny. But yeah, that was a really good time. I remember that was a big part of the day as well. I think that was the third day actually. But yeah. And then the third day I kind of sat there a lot more than the second day. It was just me waiting for the actual audition to happen. But yeah.
So, you mentioned that you weren't nervous at a certain point because of how much you had been filming, but then you were
Hmm.
nervous. So, would you say it was that feeling where you're like, "Oh, I got this," but then once you get in the room, it's like, "Oh shit, this is real."
Yes, that's exactly how I feel. And a lot of people don't know this. I have stage fright.
Mm.
So, which is probably a big reason why I became a writer. I genuinely, even though I can sing, even though I have acted in my past, I genuinely, once I'm in front of an audience, I freeze up and I stutter and I just forget everything.
Hmm.
And it is actually hilarious to watch for the most part. But yeah, I remember, like you said, I was fine. I had practiced on day zero. I practiced on the first day. We had our actual practice, our actual rehearsal with the vocal coach on the second day. At least I did. And then the second day, I practiced in my room more. The third day, I practiced even more. So I was fine. And then the second, I remember being outside those doors and they're telling me, like, Taylor, you're about to go in, like, get ready. And I was like, okay. Something inside of me said, oh my God, you're about to crap your pants, dude. You're about to sing in front of three really famous people. You don't know who they are. Well, no, you know who they are. They don't know who you are. That's what I meant to say. It was, but honestly, it's probably how it went in my mind, like me
Yes.
fumbling over everything and being like,
You can't think straight
I don't
right
know what's
then.
happening. Yeah, no idea what's going on. I just panic ramble. But yeah, and I remember the second, the second the contestant before me came out. Oh, and keep in mind, I was the last audition for those entire 3 days. I was the very last
Oh,
audition
wow.
that they were gonna have. So I was doubly nervous because I'm like, great. In musical theater world, when you're the last person to audition, and in acting world in general, when you're the last person to audition, these people are tired. They don't want to
Hmm.
see you. So I'm like, that's what I'm walking into in my mind. And they're like, okay, the person just walked out. Are you ready to go? And I said, yeah, okay, I think I can do this. And as I was about to step through the doors, they went, wait. And they just had me stand there. And I looked at them and I said, what? And I was like, why aren't you letting me go in? And they were like, okay, run in. And I was like, okay. And I ran in. And then I just didn't know what was happening. So that's why when you watched my episode, you see me walk in the room and I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Because I was like on energy 10, panic 10. Like they just pushed me in the room and I didn't know what was happening.
Mm.
Yeah, and then I was immediately nervous like the entire time. And I think I wasn't nervous the second I sat down at the piano. And that was the only moment in that audition I wasn't nervous. And then I was nervous again when the song was over. But yeah, it was crazy.
So I guess in theory, like with you having stage fright and then being in an audition room, it's still a performance. So understandably, you're still
Mm-hmm.
nervous. But I mean, is there any difference in the fact that there's not a full audience and but it's still these three people?
Yes, and I think that's what allowed me to not be nervous when I performed the song.
Hmm.
Because in that moment, I had actually practiced this in my room as well. I practiced telling myself, "You're in a room by yourself." Like that's what it feels like anyway. You're at this piano, and there's so much space around you between you and Katy Perry and Luke Bryan and Lionel, and the producers and the camera people. There's so much space, you're just there. It's like you feel kind of like alone. So I told myself, you're alone in a room. Like just treat yourself like you're singing on your bed. Or like at the table where you played the piano the first time you did the song. And I took that breath and I reminded myself of who the song was for, which is what I'm whispering when I say this is for you.
Mm.
Before I sing, I had to remind myself like this isn't about me. This is about the people I wrote the song for. And then I sang, and then I wasn't nervous. That took all my nerves away. And to be honest, that's the first time I wasn't nervous performing for anybody. That was a very rare moment. But yeah, I that was the thing that grounded me was being like, you're not really in front of an audience. You're in a room. You're just singing by yourself, and you're singing this for the people that matter. That's it. And then once you get up, you can pee your pants. But for at least for the moment of the song, just do your thing. Yeah.
Well, it was a very powerful moment, especially because they showed like a full song. Not everybody has that long of a performance. So we felt that for sure. And then when you finished performing, what did that release feel like to get up and then go and hear their critique? And again, you did it. I mean, you kind of faced this fear, and you did it for a very good reason. You knew who you were singing for, but how did you feel to complete that performance?
Yeah, it felt like a victory. Um not just for me. It was like a small victory for me, but it was mainly felt like a victory for the black community, for it felt like a victory for Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, for George Floyd. It felt like a victory for my little brother and sister, my whole family. That's like really what it felt like. It felt like, wow, I actually played the piano and sang at the same time in front of people for the first time without really messing up. That's huge. And I communicated a message that I never thought I would be allowed to communicate on national television. Like that in itself for me was also crazy. That I felt like I was actually doing the thing that I set out to do when I became a writer, which
Hmm.
was to change lives and spread the right messages. Yeah,
That's kind of the victory I felt sitting at home watching, because I remember so vividly sitting in my living room and watching your performance, and never having gotten to hear something like that before on the show. And, not to take away from all the other performers that are kind of just singing, whether they be love songs or original songs about,
yeah,
anything else, but, and it cut right to the message. We didn't, know ahead of time. You didn't tell us what the song was going to be about. You just sat there and you played it, and it was so clear. We get it. I got it. And it really
yeah,
moved me.
yeah. I'm glad it did because that's like all I wanted to do. I was like, if this touches one person's heart, then I've done my job.
It honestly, it gives me chills to sit here and get to talk to you about it, because I actually remember either that night or the next night, I remember texting my girlfriend a link to your video from YouTube and being like, you need to watch this. This is important. Like, because
Yeah,
I told her about the show and I was trying to get her into it. And, when
yeah,
you're trying to get somebody to watch a show, you're like, I don't know if I can convince them to watch a full episode, but maybe if I just send them a couple clips. That's what's great about Idol, is that you can just
yeah.
send them a contestant that you like. And I was like, this is important. Like, you have to see this. And then I sent it to her and she was just like, wow. And we talked about it. We had a discussion about it. I remember
Let's
talking about it over
go.
FaceTime with her about We Need More. I remember having it in my head and like just having that melody. So the fact that your message resonates with people in the black community, not in the black community, I know that's what you were going for. And so it just feels like an honor to get to tell you that in person, because I was affected by it.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's huge for me, and that brings so much joy to my heart. I don't think people understand. Like every time I hear someone be like, "No, that song really touched me," I love hearing that. That's amazing because again, that's the first song I've ever shared with the world. So like,
Yeah.
that's just as rewarding to me. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. What a song to start out with, man, though. I mean, to touch that many people. And again, I mean, not only was it an important message, but the way that you were able to be so direct, because that's the kind of song I like. This song, I mean, nothing wrong with metaphors, nothing wrong with finding new ways to say the same old thing, but you just said exactly what you were feeling, and you didn't have to beat around the bush. And that's probably why I was so quick to record, because you were just pouring your heart out, not trying to figure out a different way to say this, not trying to filter it down, just speaking from the heart. We need more.
Yep, exactly. That's what it's all about. I feel like that's the most successful art is the thing that just comes from your heart.
I mean, how did you feel going into Hollywood, knowing that now we have to take it up another level? What are we doing next?
It was crazy because I was like, wow, okay, I'm doing more than just sharing this one song. I'm actually a part of this now. It was it was an interesting like shift. It was an interesting shift in perspective. Um and really looking at myself and being like, okay, Taylor, what do you want? What do you want from being a part of this? From being a part of Idol? What is this about for you? And like we said before, I was kind of at least at the audition just to have a good time. So I was like, are we still having a good time? Are we trying to spread more messages? Um, yeah, I really had to center myself though and realize that like this is me being on this show was for a purpose in my mind. And that purpose was to make sure that I communicated a message that I feel like is the most important message in the world, which is loving in
Mm,
general, just love. And so I tried my best every time I was doing something or they were asking me like, what song are you going to sing? Or let's do this interview. And like, what are you hoping to do on the show? I was like, I just want to make sure people know that love is the most important thing in the world. And that's about it. That's all I care about. Everything I do needs to be about love, loving another contestant, loving the people through the song, choosing a song that communicates love. Like it doesn't matter. That's what it has to be about. Um, because to be honest, I wasn't, and I don't know, it was weird to say, but I wasn't really looking to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be fair, I was still in grad school when I was
Yeah.
doing this show. So I was like, I got stuff to do.
Gotta
Like
get
to be
that
honest, I had
paper.
homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking to go ahead and get this degree though. So I
Yeah.
don't know. But it was really funny because I was like, I'm okay if I don't win. Like I'm okay if I don't really go far. Some of my favorite artists didn't really go far in American Idol. Like
Mm-mm.
I love Tori Kelly, and she
Mm.
left at the same time I left. So I'm like, yo, we're twins.
Yes.
But like it's to me, I was like, as long as I communicate the message, that's all that matters. And I think I'll still have a good time if I do that. And I
Yeah.
actually did. So yeah.
And also, I think when people look back and they remember you, and whether it's your audition or what you did in Hollywood Week or the things that we never got to see and that you experienced yourself being on that set, it's almost like
Yeah.
you win in that way. You win in the experiences that you gain other than having your name called at the very end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all I did was take a step toward making sure those messages were communicated. And yeah, and I really, it's funny because someone had asked me once, like, what did you learn
Mm,
from being a part of that? Like, regardless of how the show ended for you, like, did you learn anything? And I was like, yeah, I learned that the most important thing for you to do is share your heart always.
mm,
Share your heart. Oh, it doesn't matter what field you're in. It doesn't matter what occupation you're in. You can sit at a desk doing accounting as long as you are sharing your heart with your coworker or with the person you're dating, your significant other, your family or your friends. Share your heart. Like that's truly what gets people through this world. That's truly what makes life worth it. Is sharing your heart. And I learned how important it was to do that for the first time on American Idol. Like that show
mm.
really opened my eyes to how important it was to share my heart. And if I hadn't done it, nothing that I have now in my life would be what it is. Like I got so many opportunities and made so many friends because of this show. But it's because I shared my heart that this opportunity even came to me. Um, but yeah, that's that's huge for me.
So you said that it wasn't till you, or I guess from the show, you gained that new epiphany that you
Yeah.
needed to share your heart. How did that happen? Was it the people? Was it the exposure? I mean, how did this come to your mind?
Um, well, truthfully, I think the first inkling of it was Lionel Richie at the audition.
Mm,
And Luke Bryan. Luke Bryan also kind of gave this to me. He literally said, like, you got to keep sharing your voice. Um, but Lionel Richie telling me of the audition, like, this is powerful. Like, this is really powerful. And saying everything that he said in that room, I was like, wow, okay, this is a lot more than just me singing a song for the first time on TV. And then going to Hollywood was the test of that. Was me
mm-hmm.
being like, okay, can I share my heart even though I couldn't do an original for those 2 rounds? Can I share my heart even though I have to sing a duet for somebody for the first time on national television? I sing duets for fun with people. I've never sang a duet for someone on like TV, let alone.
Right.
But like in real life, I was like, oh my gosh, this is stressful. But can I still share my heart doing these things and like hanging out with my friends and getting through this filming and doing these interviews? That was the test, and I think every day was just a confirmation that sharing my heart is the right thing to do.
And sharing your heart is what connects with people. And I think that competition or not, I mean, regardless, I mean, you're there. You said at the beginning, it's like you kind of went into it, again, not caring so much about winning, but just because you wanted to go and have fun and make friends and just
Yeah,
enjoy what this opportunity could offer you. So when you do that with love, you probably get the most out of it.
yeah, exactly. Oh, totally. Yeah, if you go into something and you're like, I'm gonna have fun, but like everything you do like annoys you, and you're like, I don't really want to do that, or I'm not open to that, you're not actually gonna have fun. But
Right.
if you go in, and you're like, I'm here to have fun, and I'm gonna be open to whatever happens, and I'm gonna experience everything with love and be positive about it. then yeah, it's amazing. Like everything was amazing. Even the days when we were up until 1 a.m., I was having a great time. I was tired, but I was having a great time because I was like, this, I love this. I'm never going to get to do this again. This
Sleep
is
when you get
great.
home.
Exactly. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to go home at some point. I'm going to take a nap. It's going to be great. Oh, man.
Well, you got to experience that love with so many people, and as you said, I'm sure that's when you met a bulk of your idol family. So, can we talk about who you met when you got to Hollywood Week?
Yes, yes. See, here's the trick. I don't remember anyone's last name, but I will remember all of their first names.
Alrighty.
Um, my my genre family is the first people that I really like clicked with. My genre family being like the soul genre. I forgot what group we were, but it was Lexi and Elliot Greer,
Mm,
who's also amazing. Lexi, Elliot, Max, Cadence, and Skylar and Tristan, who made it really far. But yeah, I made friends with them. They were beautiful humans.
mm.
I made friends with Tony, and Leah Marlene. She was a powerhouse. I was rooting for her that whole show. I screamed every time she sang, but that's just me. I'm loud.
I went to
But
college with
yeah,
her.
yeah. Really?
Yeah,
Yo, that's
we
crazy.
both dropped
She's
out of the
she's
same school.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Pursue art, drop out, or stay in, whatever.
whatever.
I'm saying this as someone who like went to grad school and not a degree. I'm
Yeah,
like, drop out.
exactly. Yes.
But it's great. I love it. That's so cool. I love how small the world is.
Uh,
But yeah, Leah Marlene, she's an amazing human being.
mm,
And then there's so many people. There's so many people. Abby. Uh Abigail, me and her were in a well, I was in a writing program and she was in a performing program in New York, and they were from the same school institution. And so we met each other way before that. She was actually in a musical that I did, a one act
hmm.
musical that I did. And then we both found out we were going to Hollywood at the same time. So that was really cool. Um, yeah, so many people. I think those are the people I can remember. But yeah, I made friends with like so many people.
Is that Abby with a broom? She sang in her audition with a broom.
Yes, Abby with the broom, baby. Abigail with the broom. Her voice is stunning, yo.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
we didn't get to see her again. There was a lot of people who, and I've had the pleasure of talking to some of them. I mean, they aired in the audition, but never again in Hollywood, which is kind of a shame.
yeah. Yeah, it was weird. I remember we were all texting about it because we made a group chat. We were like, so I don't know what's going on, but like I killed that song. They didn't show it. And I was like, yo, same, it's cool.
Yeah,
It was very funny. I even asked them, I sent an email and I was like, do you have the footage? Can you send it to me? I
right.
promise I won't show it. Um, but I just want to see it for
Yeah.
myself. And it's funny because Abby actually ended up recording me for my genre song, for the first round, and she sent it to me. So I have a version of that, that I sometimes I like show to friends and family. I'm like, look at this. It's like I got to sing this. It's really cool. But yeah,
What song did you sing in genre?
it's called TWO. It's by an artist called Sleeping at Last.
Mm.
And he's a great artist. It used to be a band, and then it's just this guy named Ryan. And his band, they didn't like break up. They were just like, oh, we're gonna do other things. He was like, cool, I'm gonna stay with that name, which is such a weird name for one person. But he makes beautiful music. He does a lot of covers for movies.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, he wrote this album. He creates these albums called Atlas. And right now it's a trilogy, and he's working on the third Atlas right now. And in the in the second Atlas, he writes music based off of ideas.
Hmm.
Well, all of them are based off of ideas, but there's this thing called the Enneagram. It's like Myers-Briggs horoscope
Hmm.
adjacent, like it's all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the Enneagram is like number based. It's like, oh, if you're a one, you're like a loyal person, or if you're a nine, you're a peacemaker. And so the song two is from that.
Mm.
And the twos are described as helpers. And I don't really, I'm kind of out of the norm for people of my generation where I like don't care. about that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't really care about horoscopes and enneagrams and Myers Briggs because I'm an anomaly. But I do like the art that comes from stuff like that. I'm actually writing a TV show based on the Zodiac, so like I should probably not talk about it. But yeah, the song two is from that Enneagram album that Sleeping at Last wrote, and it's such a beautiful song because it's all about love.
Aw.
Um, yeah, and twos helpers who are identified as twos, those people, they're described as people who love others before they love themselves.
Mm.
Um, they're all about trying to take care of people, trying to help people, and then trying to take care of themselves. And that song, literally, one of the lyrics is, um, "It's okay if you can't find the words. Let me take your coat and this weight off of your shoulders." Like that's such a beautiful lyric. Like it oh, it's such a good song. And I'm so sad I didn't show it because
Oh.
it's everything I wanted to share on that show. But it's okay because I did a cover and I put it on Instagram. But yeah, it's a really cool song. It's a really cool song.
So I don't know if you know this as a contestant, but I'm wondering because I've started to think more about this. As far as song selection, what you're allowed to sing on the show, uh, the the further you get, like I know once you get to showstoppers, it's like this list you have to pick from, like all for the most part, I think well-known songs, or maybe you can get your own thing cleared. But genre challenge, you obviously have way more people and a lot more sort of obscure artists are coming up that we at home might not know as well, like the one you just explained. How does that work? Did you have to get it cleared? Is there a selection of songs that you can pick from? Do you know much about that?
Yeah, so there's a huge list of songs that are already clear that we can pick from. If we want to do a song that's more obscure, in general, they ask us like what songs do you want to do? Um and like you said, like for showstoppers, you can do originals. Like that's no big deal. If you do an original though at showstoppers, you don't get to use the band because they don't
Mm-hmm.
know the song and they're
Right.
not gonna sit there and rehearse with you.
Yeah.
Because I got like 80 other songs to do. So yeah, but in general, like for the first two rounds, for all the rounds, whatever song you want to do, you have to submit it. And then they go, okay, great. We're gonna try and get them cleared. If they're already cleared, we'll let you know. And we'll be like, hey, these songs are already cleared. This song we're working on. And for me, they definitely did that because I had actually, what did I end up doing? I ended up giving them three songs, and only two of them were cleared. I think one of them was for my duet. I think I was thinking of doing "Ordinary People" by John Legend, and then for my third song, I was gonna do "Stand Up" by Cynthia Erivo from the Harriet Tubman movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that someone had already did that, so I ended up changing it last minute. But which was inevitable because I didn't get to showstoppers anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Um, but it was funny because I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do two by Sleeping at Last," and they're like, "Okay," and they had to like try and get that clear because it wasn't. No one knows who that is really. So they really had to like try and like search for it and get it cleared, and they did, which was great. And they let me know beforehand. But for like ordinary people for the duet round, ordinary people was already in their big book. So they were like, yeah, we know that's clear. That's fine. What actually ended up happening though, which you've probably already heard already, is that for duet rounds, you don't really choose your song beforehand. It was like they gave you like 12 songs, I think, and they were like, pick from this list. And I was like, oh,
Snap.
what? Yeah. I was like, I thought we were gonna pick our songs. And they were like, nope. I was like, oh man, okay, this is awkward for everyone. So that was really funny. But yeah, for Sleeping at Last, it was kind of a struggle bus because they didn't know if they were gonna get that clear, and they did, thank God. Yeah, and then for what's it called? For duets, that was just like a cluster. It was ridiculous.
Oh, I gotta wonder if they only limit you for time's sakes because I mean, it's such a rush to get everything filmed, and then you're starting duets the same
Yeah.
night you finish genre. Although I gotta imagine it will be pretty interesting to watch, entertaining at home. then again, really stressful for you guys if they didn't give you only 12 songs and you're probably having to fight with your partner. Let's do this song. Are you crazy? No, we got to do this song. You're out of your mind. Like just
Yeah,
filming that.
dude, it was totally like that. Like it was funny because at least with me and Allegra Miles, who was my duet partner, for us it was difficult because we didn't know that there was a short list of songs we had to choose from. So when we found out we were duet partners, I looked at her and I was like, so I was thinking like Ordinary People by John Legend, and she goes, I love that song. And we both knew it off the top of our heads like that. So we were ready. Like we were so ready. We didn't even need rehearsal. Like that's how ready we were. And then we got to the hotel and they were like, these are the songs you have to pick from. And we both went, ah, crap. And
Uh,
we looked at that list and realized we both know different songs. And
mm-hmm.
that was the hardest part, is that like she was like, what about this song? I was like, I don't know any of the words of that song. And I was like, she was like, okay. And I said, what about this song? And she was like, I don't know the words of that song either. And I was like, oh my God, that's really what made it hard. And it's really interesting because based on the genres we could tell there were some songs they picked for certain genres. Like there were some songs that were very soul like. There were some songs that were very rock heavy, very country, very pop. And so there was a part of us like that was like, okay, well, do they want us to do a certain song? Is like that's why they chose these songs? Or are they really just trying to cause chaos? Like what is the point? Yeah, and we eventually just went with the song. We went with what do we go? It's by Bruno Mars. You make me feel like Locked Out of Heaven. I just sing the
Mm-hmm.
song in my head. We went with Locked Out of Heaven because I was like, that's the closest thing we're gonna get to love out of any of the songs that I know. Like that's about it.
Yeah.
Um, and she was like, okay, it's a it's an okay song. Like she didn't really like it for like to do it, and I was like, honestly, I agree. I wish we could do something else, but I think this is like the best we can do. Um, and she agreed, and we were like, okay, and we can make it work. And we both sing really high, so we're like, we'll figure out harmony wise. But yeah, it was chaos. It was really trying to figure out what songs we were gonna sing, especially for me because again, I got stage right, so I knew myself. And if I get up on the stage and forget every word, it's over. Like I was like, she's gonna look dumb if I don't know what I'm doing. So I was like, I have to know these words before we get on stage. And Locked Out of Heaven was the one I knew the most. So yeah, it was chaotic. It was pretty crazy.
Well, I should have asked then because you brought up the stage fright again. How was it even the first time taking the stage for Genre Challenge, performing in front of all those people?
I think I like only looked at Katy Perry the whole time for genre round. I think I had to make a conscious decision to open my eyes. But I really, because if you watch the audition, my eyes are pretty much closed the entire time. But for yeah, for the genre round, I was like, Taylor, you're in front of like a real audience now. You got to connect, buddy. That means you got to keep those eyes open. Nobody's gonna know what's going on if you're just close eyes the entire song. But I just looked at Katy Perry, which is really easy because she doesn't blink. So it's just full connection the whole song. But yeah, I think that was like pretty easy. It was still nerve wracking. And I still had to take a second to breathe, and I did close my eyes for the first part of the song. But when we got to duets, that was the real challenge for me because I was juggling remembering words on top of trying to sing with this person a song that I know I can like scream, but she's like falsetto hitting everything. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, like we have to make this work. But I'm also trying to support her because for me, again, I was like, this isn't really a song I would choose. And for her, vocally, it sounded so good. So I was like, I have to make sure that she's supported because if anything happens, either we both go through or she goes through. And I knew that stepping on that stage. And I was like, so no matter what happens, I have to make sure that she's supported.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, that's what I was juggling on top of stage fright was support Allegra, don't mess up the words, don't forget anything. Like don't just freak out and have stage fright. Like do all
Right.
those three things at the same time and you'll be great. Yeah, so a lot of it was me looking at her. Like if you watch it, I'm just staring at her pretty much the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How was it when you were trying to work with vocal coaches, trying to arrange everything?
I mean, it was pretty simple because we kind of went in already knowing how we were going to do everything. I think the hard part is that the coaches realized like I was just singing the song. Like I was singing it the way Bruno Mars wrote it and Allegra wasn't. And so when I sang it, not only did I have a very loud voice, but I was like cutting through because I was singing just like basically the melody the whole time. And they were like, Allegra, like you're like really quiet, and Taylor, like we just need to find more balance between the
Mm-hmm.
two of you. So, and I was like, that's fine. We actually changed the key once, which I think would have been better,
Mm.
but what ended up happening is we went back because Allegra felt like she couldn't do as much in the high. I think it was a lower key. I think she felt like she couldn't do as much,
Mm-hmm.
which I understood. And again, like I said, I was trying to make sure she was good. Because at the end of the day, they gave us two choices. They said either try to beat your partner or support your partner. And I was like, I'm not trying to beat nobody. I'm coming here to make sure everyone's good. So I
Yeah.
was like, if we have to change the key to make Allegra feel better, then that's what we're gonna do. So we kept it at the key that we did it. But yeah, working with a vocal coach was insightful because I think I realized like how difficult it is to sing with someone for a duet that you never sang with before. Because it's me and Allegra have two different voices, like totally different voices. Um, yeah, it was very interesting.
Do you think that the pairing was arbitrary, or do you think that they had a good reason for putting you guys together?
I think they had a good reason. I don't know if that's me making it up, but I think they had a really good reason because me and her both write music. We're both writers. We're both singer songwriters. We both have very unique voices, and the things we write about are both very personal. Like I watched her audition. We both write very personal things. I think it was purposeful, and that they were like, we're gonna put two singer songwriters together and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because especially because when you're a singer songwriter, you write for your voice, and so your voice usually is one thing. You know, it's very specific. Like when you hear like Sarah Bareilles or Brandy Carlisle, like they're very specific types of voices. John Mayer, John Legend, like all these people have very specific voices. It's like, okay, how well can you blend? How well can you, support each other and not outshine the other person? And when you sing together, do you sing? Is it cohesive? It's like a real test of how well a singer songwriter can like perform with other people. Now, I feel like I had an upper hand. I don't know about Allegra's life like before this, but I was in show choir in high school, which again, I still had stage fright, so I was like, in the back. But I was in show choir, so I knew how to like sing a harmony. I knew how to blend. And I also sing in the church that I work for. So like I know how to sing with other people. I just know what I'm doing. The difference is our voices were so different.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in show choir, I was in high school. Everybody's voice sounds the same. When you're all hitting puberty at the same time, you all sound crackly and weird. So it's easier to be in a choir when everyone sounds crazy. And then when you're singing with the church, no matter what church you go to, all those people sound the same. We didn't have a lot of time either, so
Right.
to like find each other's like best, like where we best sit in with each other. So yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I think it was very purposeful. I wouldn't be surprised if like I talked to somebody down the line, they're like, "Oh no, we kind of just you were the last two on the list." Like that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in my mind, I think it was purposeful because we were like one of the only singer songwriters who were both like the duets who were both singer songwriters. There were a lot that were like one or the other, but we were like both singers, very strong singer songwriters who both played the piano.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
It can be hit or miss. I mean, whether it's the judges or producers putting it together, I mean, who knows? But like
yeah,
sometimes it's magic. I mean, Elliot Greer and Lexi Weege. I mean, I interviewed both of them
yes,
individually, and then everybody talked about their duet. I mean, they've taken this on the road. That really sparks something. I mean, sometimes it works.
yeah, it really does. Yo, that duet, that
Oh,
was fire. I was two duets in this whole show that just that need to be lifted up. Elliot Greer and Lexi, and Leah Marlene and Fitz.
at least they
Those were
aired
the
Leah and Fritz, and they
yes,
did
they
Locked Out
did.
of Heaven.
Yes, they did. And I was not gonna lie, when they did Locked Out Heaven, I was like, I can go home now. Like I don't have to do it. I'm okay if we don't do it. And I thought that was so funny because they like showed a piece of theirs, and then they showed like basically all of ours. And I was
Mhm.
like, why? What? Like theirs is so much better. Like I was upset. I'm like, why not show theirs in full? Like theirs was so good. Um, but yeah, it's just those were both of those duets were so good and they fit so well together. And I think those were very intentional.
Mhm.
Because those duets really hit it out of the park. Like you said, like Elliot he's in Scotland right now, but he lives in New York.
Yeah.
And like it was funny when he was talking to me, he was like, yo, come to my show. And I unfortunately missed the show where Lexi came down and they did
Yeah.
that duet together. I was so mad that I missed that. But it's like they're so good together. They their voices match perfectly, and they know exactly like the pocket of each other's voice and when to sing and when to meld and when to balance and when to like outshine, not outshine, but like take the stage a little bit and then come back and support. And I think the same thing with Fritz and Leah. Like they really know what they're doing. It was beautiful. Those are my favorite duets.
Oh yeah, and even just the friendships, because like you watched Leah and Fritz's friendship evolve on the show, and they
Yeah,
had to compete, but as individuals, they were really strong. And I remember when Fritz got sent home, but Leah got sent through. That hug between them was so real, and it
yeah,
is special to watch for the people that do get
yeah.
aired.
It really is. For me, that was the clearest example of, I think, the entire show.
Mm,
The entire season was Leah and Fritz's hug was like that's what everybody was trying to do.
yeah,
We were trying to be there for each other. And I'm not gonna lie, there are some people maybe who weren't. But I'm not gonna call them out. But and hey, I met those people and I was like, hey, listen. And I've talked to some of them and be like, yo, we just gotta keep doing our thing. They're like, yeah, that's true. So, but at some point, everybody was like, no, we gotta look out for each other. We are all amazing artists. And we're all doing this together, and all we want to do is sing.
yeah,
Like, there's no reason to like push each other around or like try step on each other's toes. Like, make friends, share the space, share your hearts, and then go forward. And whatever happens, we'll still be in each other's lives somehow. Like that's just the truth of it.
yeah. I think it backfires if you try to make it all about you and not. I mean, it's weird because it is American Idol, and you're there for a show that's about finding the solo artist, but if you don't share in the experience with everybody else, it's not going to be as rewarding of an experience, and you're not going to get the most out of it as an artist, because I think that even though you're in it for yourself, part of what you gain is those other people around you, the collective
Yeah,
experience of what you can learn from each other. Because why else would you be put in a situation where we're with 100 plus people? Even when you get down to the top 10, you should still be learning every week, even when it's you and two other people. Like, come on, you got to always be learning from the people that might,
yeah,
they're your competition, but you still got to learn.
yeah. Exactly. You do. You have to keep learning. You have to keep sticking together.
It's like going to music camp, and I haven't said that in a while, but I've said it, my guests have said it, and no matter how far you get, you all walk away with this feeling of being a part of the Idol family.
Yeah, you really do. And listen, I've talked to some of the PAs and been like, "Can I get a job if I ever want to come back?" Like, I just want to assist and watch. Like, I feel the same as you. I just want to be a part of it. It's such a beautiful experience. It really does feel like music camp. You're all in it together. You're all singing a bunch of songs. You're all supporting each other. And then when you go home, you give somebody a hug, you cry a little bit, and then you stay connected on Instagram. Like it's great. I have people's phone numbers. I've hung out with people. Like it is a music camp. It's great.
Back when the show started in 2002, I guess you could get somebody's phone number, but now it's easier than ever. You hop on an Instagram live, you send somebody a DM. And now it
Yeah,
really is.
exactly.
There's no excuse to not stay connected. If people are gonna start wondering like, hey, why aren't they talking? Was there beef? It's like, yeah, you gotta if you want to keep up that image that Idol really is a family, you gotta do the Instagram lives, you gotta do everything.
You really do. It's really funny too because I'm so bad at Instagram. Like I'm so bad at going live. I'm so bad at like staying connected. And I it takes a lot of work just to post videos of me
Oh my God,
singing.
yeah.
But like it's so funny because after every episode I'd be like, oh man, okay, I posted and I promoted it and I'm gonna go to sleep. And then the next day I would see like these two people went live together. These two people went live. These four people went live. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm just going to bed, and all these people are having like after episode
Oh my
conversations and
god.
talking to each other. And then I just hop on and like comment. I'm like, I love you guys. And then that's it. And then I like disappear. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's really funny.
Oh man. Well, but it's also like such a huge time gap between filming and when things get aired. So it also is wild to kind of have to sort of go back to normal, but then remember all the things that you did. It wasn't that long ago, but still, I mean, I can definitely see how it's like, okay, I got to remember to promote this and remember, okay, we're at the audition stage. Now we're at the genre challenge. Now we're at the group. I can't spoil what happened in this round because we're still back here, you know?
Exactly. It's funny because I had for a while, I had my golden ticket above my door, and I would, and it was like taped up there just because I was like, oh, I'm so proud of myself, and I would like go on Zoom and have to like move the camera or remove it so that like I wasn't giving it away to like people that I knew that
Yeah,
like I had gone on to like a
right.
new round. I had to be so, or when I took a video of me singing, I had to like move it around my room. Like it was ridiculous. But yeah, you're right. I had to be like very conscious of like, okay, I'm promoting the show. I'm taking a picture, but I have to be careful about the angle because if I show a golden ticket, everyone's gonna know I already went through. And I haven't. It's not even the end of the episode yet. I don't even know when I go in the episode. Like it was so much keeping tabs on like what I was doing on socials, and then
Yeah.
being like, okay, they know I made it through. I can keep. I can just act normal now. It's very interesting. Oh man.
That's the flip side of where the show was when it started. I mean, back in the day, they didn't have to worry about things leaking probably as much, you know? And
Yeah,
now
like at
everything is
all.
just so easy. I mean, heck, if it weren't for the lists that I find on the internet, I probably wouldn't even be able to find a lot of the people I did in the beginning of this podcast. It's like, let's see, who didn't air? Let's go to idolleaks.com. Ah, I see. It's got their Instagram and everything.
I had people literally texting me and being like, "You went through, huh?" And I'm like, "What? No, maybe I don't know." And they're like, "Nah, I already looked it up." I'm like, "What? How did you know?"
I mean, they put that stuff out when you got, I think, when they're filming Showstopper. I know you didn't get to that round, but that's when they bring an audience in.
Yeah.
So someone's always in the audience that gets, okay, here's the top 60. And,
Yep.
3 months before the premiere, there's a whole list out there. And
Yep.
it's
Yep.
tempting, but I don't want to spoil myself from the experience.
Yeah. Exactly. It's very funny too because I remember being like, "Oh, I want to know who's gonna make it through." And I asked, I was like, "Hey, could we?" I texted a producer. I was like, "Can I like come see?" And they said, "No, they don't let contestants who got sent home watch showstoppers." And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "They're afraid of what you'll do." And I'm like, "That's fair." Because if I was bitter, I would throw a potato on stage or something.
Oh my God.
Um, but that makes sense. I'm like, I they understand like I'm coming out of love. They're like it's kind of a policy thing. But
Yeah,
yo, what I would give to just be like everybody, I know who went through, and you don't know, but I know. Like that
right.
would be so great.
Oh my God. Or like you can totally be in the audience and be like, hey, I know. And then like they're like bribe people and like pay you for the info.
Yeah, yeah. Be like, yo, give me $5, slide me $5, and I'll tell you who makes it. I promise.
Yeah. Okay. Five bucks for half the group, $10 for the whole group. Like,
Yeah,
do a premium
like a price,
package.
a whole menu.
I'll tell you what song they sang. I'll tell you if they
Yeah.
liked it, the judges didn't like it.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. That's good.
Oh. So, okay. So since American Idol, kind of the bookend here. I mean, again, it was so cool to hear about everything that you did before the show. So what have you been up to after the show?
After the show has been pretty crazy, actually. I'll say after the show, I finished grad school. Like I said, I graduated in July, which was really cool.
Hmm.
So I'm a master's now, which is great, and also I don't know what to do with that. But but I went to school and I have a master's degree. And then yeah, I had meetings. I have a writing agent, which is really cool. And they help me. I have agents, I guess, two of them, and they help me like get my writing out there. I have written so many musicals. I'm as I've said already, like I wrote a song in 30 minutes. I tend to write fast, really fast, because I'm afraid that if I don't finish something, I will just procrastinate and forget about it. So I tend to write like an idea in like a week and
Hmm.
be like, I need to finish this or it's never gonna get done. So I've written a multiple musicals. I've had a meeting with a musical theater production company, which has been really cool. I'm talking to them about doing things. I've had a meeting with the company that produced American Idol.
Are we
And
talking
I've been talking to
Fremantle?
them about some stuff. Yeah, yeah, they're really cool people to talk to, and we're staying connected. And we'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, I've been talking to them, and pretty much I've been writing songs for music artists. I've been publishing basically. There's an artist in Jersey. His name is Joe Paserchio. He's a really cool guy. And so I'm writing an album for him that'll be coming out soon. We're finishing up this summer so he can release in the fall. And then I'm going to be writing for another music artist in New York, which is going to be really fun. And then I'm working on my own stuff. I'm releasing snippets of songs like every week. Songs that I will be putting in my albums. I'm so far planning on putting out. I was planning on putting out 7 albums. It might be 8 because I've written a lot more since I said 7. So, but yes, I'm planning on putting out a bunch of albums, like one a year or one every 6 months. We'll see. Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Well, so we got a whole path laid out for how often you're going to be releasing music for a long time.
Yeah, I'm gonna be releasing music for a very long time. I'm pretty prepared. Right now it's just like getting into the studio. I have a couple friends. There's this guy named Jonah Bobo who has a company called Be My Band. And he's a great producer. And so I'm gonna be talking to him about producing some of my work or some of my music. Because like I said, he's amazing and he's a really cool guy in New York. And yeah, and then talking to my agents about releasing music. I had a meeting a while ago with Atlantic Records, and I might talk to them again once I actually start releasing music because they told me to keep them updated. So yeah, I have like a whole thing that I'm trying to do. There's a lot going on.
I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited for you, man. This is great. I'm like, I'm honored that I met you. I'm so glad that we're connected now. And I want to know where people can go to stay posted on all this stuff because as you're announcing things, as you're releasing things, I'm sure they want to go to the socials. So where can they go to stay plugged on Taylor Fagins?
Yes. Honestly, Instagram is home base. Instagram, Taylor at Taylor Fagins. Like that. That's what it is. That's where I post pretty much everything. I don't go on TikTok because that's me being stupid. Like I post myself singing on TikTok, but a lot of it is like me just being bored. So like don't go on TikTok. But everything I do, most of what I do is lives on Instagram. I always release music on Instagram. I always update on Instagram. But yeah, that's the place. And then if you wanna, connect to me personally, you can go to my website, taylorfagans.com. And I do respond to people who talk to me through my website. Sometimes I just forget, but I do get all those messages and I do reply. So
Cool. One more question for you, if we could end on an American Idol note. What would be your advice to anybody who may be thinking of auditioning, or maybe they already auditioned, they've booked a live audition, specifically who might be a singer-songwriter, somebody who is planning to perform original music? What's your advice to that person?
okay, wait, this has to be good.
No
No,
pressure.
but truthfully, yeah, no pressure at all. It's fine, everybody. But I would say 2 things. One piece of advice, 2 parts. Be bold and be honest.
Mm.
You have to be bold and do something that maybe you're afraid to do. Maybe something that's really vulnerable, something that's a piece of you and not some song you wrote about, somebody you might have liked or about, some fantasy or something. No, like fantastical world. Like those are cool songs. But if you wanna audition for American Idol, you have to be bold. You have to really share a piece of yourself. I think every singer songwriter who has done a song on there, has done a song that means something to them. It was a huge step in that direction. So you have to be bold, and you always have to be honest, even if you're like, I'm gonna do a cover first and then I'll like share a song later. At least be honest with what you're sharing. Really figure out like what are you trying to say? What's the message you're trying to tell? And like I said, mine was love. And so everything I did was in love. So be bold and be honest, and that'll get you through so many doors. No matter how your journey goes with American Idol, you have to do those two things. And honestly, everything will go the way that it should.
I think anyone who wants to audition for that show, or anybody who wants to just walk away from this conversation and go on with their lives, whether or not they are a singer or whether they're doing something completely different, like you said, approach life with love. I think that is the takeaway, right?
Yes, 100%. Love always.
Yes, love wins. And if you like this podcast, guys, you can go and hit subscribe if you haven't already on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you may be listening. You can also rate, leave a review if that's an option. You can also watch the interviews on YouTube. Just type in American Idol Unaired. We have got interviews with singers that you didn't see, as well as these aired exceptions, some people behind the scenes of American Idol. You can also follow us on Instagram or TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. So, guys, thank you so much for listening or watching. And Taylor, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
Thank you very much.